I'm a big tea drinker, and I recently found out that one of my nephews drinks tea instead of coffee. So I wanted to show you a few gifts I bought him for Christmas to get his whole tea thing going, get him into loose tea, and show you some things that I've learned over the years that work and don't work that make tea drinking really enjoyable. One proof that I'm into tea is that I have a drawer in my kitchen that's exclusively tea. It's mostly loose tea, some tea bags, and over here I have the teas that have stimulant in them. Some people say it's caffeine. I don't know that it is. And then over here I have the teas that are not. You could call them decaffeinated or rooibos tea. Some teas that I make iced tea out of in the summer. So I'm going to show you a couple other little tricks of the trade and what about my nephew. What I'll show you first are some things that are cute that we're selling years ago. They still sell them, but they don't really work well. And that's some of these tea infusers, like this one. It looks like it seals really well. It's got these little holes. Or this one that's it's like screen, and then this thing, the ball opens, and you put the tea in. I guess it opens here. You can tell I don't use it anymore. It's just around for nostalgia. Or this cute little tea house that you put the tea in. The problem with these is that the loose tea comes right through the little holes. Here it comes through on the sides, comes through all these little holes here. So they're cute, but I don't use those anymore. So what I use now are these. So this one I use, you can tell I'm going to have to buy a new one shortly. And I'll link to it in the description field. This one can either work with a cup, like this, and then you put the tea in here and then the hot water. Or I have this 3-cup teapot that this size works perfectly for. And I love this. When you're done and you take it out so that, you know, the tea, as you're trying to take it to the sink, you can flip this over and put that on there, and then you're not going to dribble tea as you move it from the teapot over to the sink and put the lid back on. I also have a larger version because I have large teapots. This is too big for my 3-cup, but I have 4-cup and 5-cup teapots, so that works with that too. Then I also love this one, and I told a tea shop in town about it, and they went out and bought some to sell in their store. This one stays completely sealed. This is for an individual cup. And then similarly to that is a large one, and I've linked to all these things in the description field. This one I use when I'm making iced tea. So I'll open it up and I'll put some tea leaves in here, and then close it up and put it into the hot water. Or if I'm doing sun tea, I'll put it in there. Now people have asked me how much tea should I put in here, how much dry tea. Well, think about when you're making a cup, how much dry tea is in a tea bag. It's about a half a teaspoon. So put that much in here. When I'm making a 3-cup teapot, 3 cups, I'm doing 1.5 teaspoons in here. And then of course there's this kind, which it's silver and it's tarnished, but when you go for formal tea somewhere, they'll have this. And these are lovely, but only if you're into polishing silver, which obviously I'm not. So what you do here is you actually steep the tea in the teapot with the leaves in it. You put this over your cup, and then you pour your tea in, and then you pick this up and put it on here, and then your tea leaves are in there. But let me show you what I got for my nephew. So I got him I want to get him one of these, and I want to get him one of these. So I did find this, and I've linked to it in the description field, so he can take this to work if he wants. And then I've got this one, locally I couldn't find that, but I've linked to both this one and this one online. And this one, it just looks a little different. It's a little smaller, but it's for 1 cup. He's only going to drink 1 cup at a time. And then after, you put your tea leaves in here, put in your cup, pour in your hot water, and put the lid on, let it steep. And when you're done, you lift it, and then you put this lid underneath, and then take it. Whoops! Don't let it fall over. It'll be there'll be stuff in it. So, and then take it over to the sink, and that way you're not dripping. So hopefully he'll really like this. I also wanted to give you some tips on making tea, proper tea, because I still have my cough. I should have some tea with lemon, shouldn't I? But I'm going to show you how I make it in here. I actually put water on the stove, filtered water on the stove, and another teapot. My nephew has a combination coffee maker on one side and hot water thing on the other side. So he'll probably just, boil his hot water in that and then pour it right into the cup. So let me show you how I do that next. My two most favorite teas are called Almond Cookie and Earl Grey de la Creme. And before I start the water, or after, I'll just get my little tea infuser, the small one, for my 3-cup teapot. And I'll put in about 1.5 teaspoons, and now I'll get the water ready. I start out by filling my teapot with filtered water. If you don't have filtered water, that's fine. Just make sure if you're using tap water that you're using cold water. I fill this whole thing so I get the exact amount of water that I want. And it's almost there. I'm making 3 cups. Okay. I have a teapot for the stove, so next I toss the water in there. I put the heat on high, and I set it there to boil. But if you have a kettle on the counter, there's some that plug in that I've seen. It would be a really nice gift, but it would take up more space on my counter. But those are nice. Or like I mentioned, my nephew's got some contraption with the coffee. If I get the name of it from him, I'll link to it in the description field. But now we just wait for this, and I have one more step while this is boiling or getting ready. The next thing I do is warm the teapot. I learned this from real tea people years ago, and you just turn the tap water on really, really hot. Now some people make extra boiling water and wait till it boils and fill the teapot with that, but I'm not doing it. I just fill it with really hot tap water and let it sit, and I dump it out when the water boils. The reason for doing this is if you heat the teapot, or I guess you could do it if you're just going to put it right into a mug. You could heat the mug. It makes for a better tasting tea. So I'm just going to set this on the counter and wait for the water to boil on the stove. The water has boiled, so I'm going to pour out that other water I put in here, and then put in my tea filter and pour it in. And this is a black tea I'm using, a flavored black tea. So this will steep for 3 to 5 minutes. When the tea is done, I'm just going to take this little thing out and flip this over like that. See, no drips, and then put it in the sink. I'll put my lid on it to keep it warm. And pour myself a cup of tea. So whether I'm making Earl Grey or Almond Cookie, I have my two favorites like that. I like to add almond milk to mine, and then I don't need any sweetener. So that's how I make a proper loose leaf tea.